Commander Ethan Voss lay on the cold metal floor of the enemy warship, his body aching from the fight. His uniform was torn, blood staining the fabric. His weapons had been taken away. Around him, tall armored figures stood like statues, their glowing red eyes staring down at him. The Dravith, the most feared warriors in the galaxy, had captured him. Ethan had fought in many battles, but this was different. This was the end. The Dravith were not like other alien species. They were stronger, faster, and born for war. Their empire had crushed hundreds of planets, and Earth had been no exception. The humans had fought bravely, but their ships, weapons, and strategies had all failed against the overwhelming might of the Dravith. Ethan had commanded one of the last human warships, the Horizon's Edge. For months, he and his crew had survived, striking back at the enemy whenever they could. But today their luck had run out. The Dravith fleet had cornered them near a dying red star. Outnumbered and outgunned, they had fought until the last missile was fired, the last shield collapsed, and the last escape pod was destroyed. The Horizon's Edge was gone. His crew was either dead or captured. And now he was a prisoner of the enemy. Two Dravith warriors grabbed Ethan by his arms and forced him to stand. They pushed him forward, leading him through the metallic halls of their massive warship. The ship was eerily silent, the only sounds being the distant hum of machines and the heavy footsteps of his captors. Ethan did not struggle. He had no strength left to fight. He was taken into a grand throne room, unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls were dark silver, covered in strange glowing symbols. At the far end of the chamber, a massive throne of black metal stood, its edges sharp like blades, and sitting on that throne was someone Ethan had only heard about in war reports. Queen Salvera, the ruler of the Dravith Empire. Ethan had expected a terrifying warlord, a monstrous leader covered in armor and scars. Instead, he saw a tall, elegant figure with dark violet skin and piercing golden eyes. Her long, flowing robes shimmered under the dim lights, and a strange, calm expression rested on her face. She was nothing like the brutal warriors who had conquered his people. The Dravith guards forced Ethan to his knees before the queen. He clenched his fists, his breathing slow but steady. He would not beg. He would not show fear. If this was his last moment, he would meet it with dignity. The queen rose from her throne and walked toward him, her movements graceful, almost gentle. She stopped just a few steps away, her golden eyes studying him carefully. Then, to Ethan's shock, she spoke in his language. "You are Ethan Voss, commander of the Horizon's Edge." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I was." The queen tilted her head slightly, as if considering his words. Then she spoke again, her voice soft yet firm. "Your people fought well," she said. "Few have ever resisted us for this long. You are unusual." Ethan's anger flared. "Unusual? Is that what you call it? My people are dead. My world is gone. And you sit there, calling it unusual." The Dravith guards tensed, expecting their queen to punish him for his disrespect. But instead, she simply watched him, her expression unreadable. After a long pause, she said something that made Ethan freeze. "You misunderstand me, human. I did not bring you here to kill you." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "Then why am I here?" The queen took another step closer. Now she was standing right in front of him. "To offer you a choice." Ethan frowned. This had to be a trick. The Dravith did not take prisoners. They did not negotiate. What was she planning? The queen lifted one hand, slowly, carefully, and touched his forehead with the tips of her fingers. In that moment, a strange warmth spread through Ethan's mind. It was not painful, nor was it forceful. It was gentle, as if she was showing him something beyond words. Memories, emotions, thoughts, things he could not yet understand. Then she pulled her hand away. The warmth faded, leaving behind a strange emptiness. Ethan's breathing was unsteady. His mind raced. "What did you just do?" he demanded. The queen gazed at him, her golden eyes deep with meaning. "I have seen into your soul, Ethan Voss," she said, "and now you will see into mine." Ethan did not know what she meant, but one thing was clear: his fate had changed forever. Ethan Voss sat in a dimly lit chamber, his mind still reeling from what had happened. The touch of Queen Salvera lingered in his thoughts, not as pain, but as something else, something unfamiliar. He had felt warmth, emotions, and something deep inside her that he could not understand. It was not the touch of a ruthless conqueror. It was something different. But Ethan could not trust it. He was still a prisoner. The Dravith had destroyed Earth. His people were nearly wiped out. No matter what games the Queen was playing, he would not fall for them. The room he was in was unlike any prison cell he had ever seen. There were no chains, no guards watching his every move. Instead, it was a quiet space with soft lighting, smooth walls, and a strange energy that made the air feel alive. A single metal door stood at the far end, locked from the outside. Ethan paced the room, trying to find a weakness in the walls, but there was nothing. He was trapped. Before he could think further, the door hissed open. Queen Salvera stepped inside, moving with the same graceful confidence as before. Two Dravith guards stood behind her, their eyes glowing red, watching his every move. Ethan crossed his arms, his expression cold. "Here to finish me off." The Queen's golden eyes studied him for a moment. Then she spoke in perfect English. "No, Commander Voss," she said. "I am here to talk." Ethan let out a short laugh. "Talk? After everything your people have done, you think words can change anything?" Salvera took a step closer. Her voice remained calm, but there was a weight behind it, something deeper than just authority. "Your world is gone, but your people are not." Ethan's breath caught. He glared at her. "What do you mean?" The Queen held his gaze. "Earth has fallen, but not all humans have perished. There are survivors, scattered across space. Some are in hiding. Others are prisoners." Ethan clenched his fists. "Where are they?" Salvera did not answer immediately. Instead, she studied his face, as if measuring something inside him. Then she said something that made his blood turn cold. "The war was not my choice." Ethan took a step back, staring at her in disbelief. "What?" The Queen let out a slow breath, her golden eyes darkening. "The Dravith have ruled for centuries, but we are not the true masters of this war. We are pawns in a greater game." Ethan's heart pounded. Was this another trick? Another lie? "Explain," he demanded. Salvera nodded. "Have you ever wondered why the Dravith never negotiate? Why we conquer without mercy? Why we do not stop, even when victory is certain?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "Because you're monsters." The Queen's gaze did not waver. "No, because we are controlled." Silence filled the room. Ethan wanted to deny it, to call it another deception, but something in her eyes told him that she was telling the truth. "Who is controlling you?" he asked slowly. Salvera turned her head slightly, as if listening to something far away. Then she looked back at him. "They are called the Vadrix, a parasite species. They do not control us with force, but with something much worse. They control our minds." Ethan's stomach twisted. Mind control. The Queen gave a small nod. "Not in the way you imagine. The Vadrix do not issue commands. They plant thoughts, whispers in the mind, pushing the Dravith toward war, toward destruction. My people believe they are acting on their own will, but in reality they are slaves without chains." Ethan's hands curled into fists. If this was true, it changed everything. "How do you know this?" he asked. The Queen's expression darkened. "Because I was one of them." Ethan froze. Salvera continued. "For years, I followed the same path, believing that war was our purpose. But one day, something changed. I felt something break inside me. The voices went silent. And for the first time, I saw the truth. Ethan watched her carefully. She wasn't lying. At least she believed what she was saying. You want me to believe that you just woke up and realized everything was wrong? He asked. The Queen nodded. Yes, and I am not the only one. Ethan narrowed his eyes. Then why am I still here? What do you want from me? The Queen took another step forward. This time, Ethan did not move away. The Vedrics cannot control humans, she said. You are the only species immune to their influence. That is why your people fight so fiercely, why you never surrender. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. You need me, he said, realization dawning. Alvera's golden eyes locked onto his. Yes, I need your help to break my people free from their control. If we do not stop them, they will not just destroy humanity. They will destroy everything. Ethan stared at her, his mind racing. Could he trust her? Could he really work with the queen of the very empire that had nearly wiped out his species? But deep inside, he knew one thing. If what she said was true, then the war was far from over. And for the first time since his capture, Ethan saw something he had thought was long gone. Hope. Ethan Voss sat in silence, staring at Queen Salvera. Her words echoed in his mind. The Vedrics control us. A parasite species, influencing the minds of the Dravith, forcing them into endless war. And now, she was asking for his help. He wanted to believe it was a lie, just another trick. But something in her golden eyes told him otherwise. She wasn't just speaking words. She was pleading for him to understand. Ethan leaned forward, his hands pressed against the cold metal table between them. If what you're saying is true, why hasn't anyone stopped them? The Queen's gaze remained steady. Because no one can fight what they cannot see. Ethan frowned. Explain. Zalvera folded her hands in front of her. The Vedrics do not rule openly. They do not sit on thrones or command armies directly. They exist in the shadows, whispering in the minds of leaders, planting thoughts, emotions, and desires that seem natural. The Dravith believe they are following their own instincts, but in truth, they are being guided like puppets. Ethan exhaled sharply. If this was true, then the Dravith weren't just conquerors. They were victims too. How did you break free? He asked. Zalvera's expression darkened. I do not know. Ethan narrowed his eyes. What do you mean you don't know? The Queen hesitated for a moment, then sighed. One day, I woke up, and the whispers were gone. The rage, the hunger for war, it all vanished. I could think clearly for the first time in my life. I saw the destruction we had caused, the lives we had taken, and I realized that we were not warriors, we were slaves. Ethan studied her carefully. There was pain in her voice, regret. This was not just a speech, it was her truth. But one question still burned in his mind. Why me? He asked. The Queen tilted her head slightly. Because humans are different. You are the only species in the galaxy that the Vedrics cannot control. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Why? We do not know, Alvera admitted. But I have studied your people for years. No matter what happens, humans resist. You do not surrender, even when you have no hope of winning. Even when the Dravith crushed your worlds, you fought back. Even when everything was lost, you kept fighting. Ethan clenched his fists. And that's why you destroyed us. Because we wouldn't bow. The Queen shook her head. No, that is why I need you. Ethan frowned. Zalvera leaned forward. If humans are immune to the Vedrics' control, then you are the key to breaking my people free. If we can find out why your minds resist, we may be able to stop the Vedrics forever. Ethan stared at her. The idea was insane. The Dravith had wiped out his people, and now their queen wanted him to save them. You expect me to help the same empire that destroyed my world? He asked coldly. The Queen met his glare with a calm, steady look. I expect you to help stop the ones truly responsible. Ethan looked away. He wanted to refuse, to say no. But deep down, he knew one thing. If the Vadriks were real, if they were the true enemy, then this war was far from over, and humanity was still in danger. After a long silence, Ethan exhaled. What do you need me to do? A small, almost invisible look of relief crossed Axalvera's face. Come with me. The Vault of Secrets. Ethan followed the queen through the dark hallways of the Dravith warship. It was strange. He was still a prisoner, yet no guards restrained him. They trusted him to follow. Or maybe they feared the queen more than they feared him. After several turns, they arrived at a massive chamber. The doors slid open with a deep rumble, revealing a vault filled with strange, glowing devices. Ethan had seen advanced technology before, but this was different. The air itself felt heavy. What is this place? He asked. Axalvera stepped inside, running her fingers over a metallic console, a hidden part of our history. Ethan stepped closer, his eyes scanning the strange artifacts. Some looked like ancient human devices, others were unlike anything he had ever seen. Then he spotted something that made his blood run cold. A human beacon. The same kind used by early Terran explorers centuries ago. It was old, covered in dust, but the markings were unmistakable. This was human technology. Ethan's heart pounded. How do you have this? The queen's voice was quiet. Because humans were here, long before the war. Ethan turned to her sharply. What? Axalvera placed a hand on the beacon. We found these across our empire. Some were buried deep beneath the surface of conquered worlds. Others were hidden inside forgotten ruins. The Dravith never questioned them. The Vadriks told us they were nothing. But now, I believe they are part of something much bigger. Ethan swallowed hard. His people had been here, long before the war. But why? The queen turned to him. There is more to your kind than you know, Ethan Voss. The Vadriks fear humans for a reason. And if we do not uncover the truth, we will all be destroyed. Ethan exhaled slowly. Everything he thought he knew was a lie. The war, the Dravith, even humanity's history, it was all connected. And now he had a choice. He could walk away, let the Dravith fight their own battles, or he could find out the truth. He looked at the queen. I'm in, he said. Axalvera nodded. Then we begin. Ethan Voss stood in the vault, his gaze locked on the ancient human beacon before him. Dust and time had worn its surface, but there was no mistaking the markings. This was Terran technology. But how? Earth's explorers had never reached Dravith space before the war. At least, that's what he had always believed. Queen Axalvera watched him carefully, her golden eyes unreadable. This is only one of many. Ethan slowly turned to her. You're telling me humans have been here before? She nodded. We found these beacons across multiple planets. Always hidden, always old, too old. The Dravith never cared to investigate. The Vadriks told us it was meaningless, and we obeyed. But now, I suspect the truth is far more dangerous. Ethan's mind raced. If humans had been here centuries ago, what had happened to them? Why was history hiding this? He reached out, brushing the dust from the beacon's surface. As he did, the device flickered to life, emitting a soft blue glow. A voice crackled through the air, distorted, ancient, yet unmistakably human. This is Captain Elias Rourke. If you are hearing this, we failed. The Vadriks cannot be stopped. Do not trust them. Do not trust. The message cut off, replaced by static. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Captain Elias Rourke. The name sent chills down his spine. That was a legend, a ghost story among human spacefarers. Rourke had led one of Earth's earliest deep space missions 300 years ago, and then vanished without a trace. And now his warning had resurfaced. Ethan turned to Axalvera. You said the Dravith never investigated this. The queen's expression remained calm. but there was something in her eyes, a shadow of doubt, of fear. The Vadrix would not allow it, she admitted. Any time a Dravith leader grew curious about these relics, they met an unfortunate end. Accidents, disappearances. No one dared question it. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we need to find out the truth. Vizalvera exhaled. I had a feeling you would say that. She gestured toward the beacon. This device is damaged, but if we retrieve others like it, we may uncover the full message. I know where the next one is. Ethan eyed her warily. And let me guess, it won't be easy. The Queen gave a small, humorless smile. Nothing worth fighting for ever is. Mission to the Forbidden World. Salvera led Ethan to the Dravith command deck, a massive chamber filled with glowing displays and alien symbols. The crew turned to look at him, some with suspicion, others with curiosity. A human standing alongside their queen was unheard of. Ethan ignored the stares. His focus was on the holographic star map in front of him. The Zalvera pointed to a distant system. The next beacon is located here, on the planet Valkor 7, a dead world, forbidden by my people. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Forbidden? Why? The Queen's expression darkened. It is said to be cursed. Anyone who lands there never returns. Ethan folded his arms. And yet, that's exactly where we're going. Vizalvera met his gaze. You wanted the truth, did you not? Ethan sighed. He was beginning to regret it. Landing on Valkor 7. The journey to Valkor 7 took hours, but the moment they entered its orbit, Ethan understood why the Dravith feared it. The planet was a graveyard. From the ship's viewport, he could see the wreckage of countless vessels, Dravith warships, unknown alien crafts, and even human ships. Some had been there for centuries, their hulls torn apart, floating like ghosts in the darkness. Ethan turned to Exalvera. Still think this is just a legend? The Queen's jaw tightened. I do not believe in curses, only in truths waiting to be uncovered. Their ship descended, breaking through the thick, swirling clouds. When they landed, the ground beneath them was ashen, the sky a dull gray. The air was thin, but breathable. Ethan and Stalvera stepped out, flanked by a team of Dravith soldiers. The landscape was eerie. Twisted ruins, strange symbols carved into stone and bones. Too many bones. Ethan knelt beside a skeletal figure, brushing away dust. His stomach twisted. It was human. Zalvera's voice was quiet. We are not the first to seek the truth. Ethan stood, gripping his weapon tighter. Then let's make sure we're the ones who survive. They moved through the ruins, scanning for the beacon's signal. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. And then they found it. Half buried beneath rubble, the beacon pulsed with a faint blue glow, the same as before. Ethan approached cautiously, reaching for the device. As soon as he touched it, the beacon activated. A holographic projection flickered to life. A man appeared, Captain Elias Rourke. His face was weathered, his eyes filled with fear. If you are seeing this, it means they found me. The Vadrix are not what they seem. They do not just control minds. They consume them. They are already inside the Dravith, inside us all. I tried to warn Earth, but they silenced me. The truth is. Suddenly, the recording glitched, the image distorting. Then, the beacon let out a piercing screech. The ground beneath them shook, and from the shadows, something moved. Ethan spun, raising his weapon. We're not alone. Zalvera drew her blade, her golden eyes narrowing. Prepare to fight. From the darkness of the ruins, figures emerged, their bodies twisted, their eyes glowing with an unnatural red light. They were Dravith, or at least, they had been. Now, they were something else. Ethan's blood ran cold. The Vadrix. The creatures let out a deep, unnatural hiss. Then they attacked. The moment the twisted Dravith creatures lunged forward, Ethan Voss fired his weapon. The energy blast struck one of the creatures in the chest, but instead of falling, it only staggered back, its glowing red eyes locked onto him. Ethan gritted his teeth. They didn't go down easy. The Dravith soldiers beside him opened fire, filling the dark ruins with flashes of energy and the deafening sound of battle. But the enemy kept coming. Zalvera moved with deadly grace, her blade slicing through the attackers. Unlike normal Dravith warriors, these creatures didn't even scream when they fell. They just twitched and kept fighting until they were completely destroyed. "These are not my people anymore," Zalvera said, her voice cold. Ethan ducked behind a broken pillar as one of the creatures lunged at him. He aimed and shot it straight in the head. This time, it collapsed and didn't get up. "The head," Ethan shouted. "Go for the head." The soldiers adjusted their aim, and one by one, the monstrous Dravith fell, their glowing red eyes flickering out like dying flames. For a moment, silence filled the ruins. Ethan exhaled, lowering his weapon. What were those things? Zalvera knelt beside one of the bodies, her expression grim. They were once Dravith warriors. But now, they are puppets. The Vaedrix took their minds and made them into something else. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. So the Vaedrix don't just control thoughts. They completely take over. The Queen nodded. Yes. And the more we fight them, the more we learn their true nature. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we need to stop them before they spread further. Zalvera stood. Agreed. But first, the beacon. Ethan turned back to the ancient human beacon. It was still active, but damaged. The message from Captain Ilias Rourke had cut off just as he was about to reveal something important. Ethan crouched next to it, tapping a few buttons. "Can we recover the rest of the message?" The Queen motioned to one of her soldiers, who stepped forward with a small device. He pressed it against the beacon, and the blue light flickered weakly. A distorted voice crackled through the air. "The truth is, they are older than we ever imagined. The Vaedrix were never just parasites. They are something much worse, something we were never meant to find. If you are hearing this, then it's already too late." The beacon short-circuited, its glow fading into darkness. Ethan stood up, his jaw tightening. What did he mean by older than we imagined? Zalvera's eyes narrowed. It means the Vaedrix have been in the galaxy far longer than the Dravith, and possibly longer than humanity itself. Ethan exhaled. And if that's true, then how do we stop them? A desperate escape. Before Zalvera could answer, a deep rumble shook the ground beneath them. Ethan snapped his head up. That's not good. The ruins around them began to crack, as if something beneath the surface was awakening. Zalvera's expression turned serious. "We need to leave. Now." Ethan and the Dravith warriors rushed back toward their ship. The shadows of the ruins seemed to shift and move, as if something was watching. Then, from the cracks in the ground, black tendrils slithered upward. One of the Dravith soldiers screamed as the tendrils wrapped around his body, pulling him down into the earth. Ethan turned and fired, but the tendrils absorbed the energy blast. "Run," Zalvera commanded. They sprinted toward the ship as the ruins behind them collapsed, swallowed by the darkness spreading from beneath. Ethan barely made it to the ramp before the tendrils lashed out again, trying to grab his ankle. He jumped forward, rolling into the ship just as the doors sealed shut. The pilot launched them into the air, and as they rose above the planet, Ethan looked out the viewport. The ground where they had just been was now a massive black pit, pulsing with an eerie red glow. Ethan turned to Zalvera. "Tell me that wasn't what I think it was." The Queen's face was pale. That was a Vaedrix hive. Ethan felt his stomach drop. A hive. That wasn't just a few Vaedrix. That was an entire colony buried beneath the surface. And now it was awake. "We need to warn the galaxy," Ethan said. Zalvera nodded. "Yes, but first, we need to find out how deep this infection goes." The next step. Back aboard the Dravith warship, Ethan sat in the war room, staring at the data from the mission. His mind kept replaying the message from Captain Rourke. If you are hearing this, then it's already too late. What had he meant? Was the Vadrix threat already beyond stopping? Zalvera entered the room, her expression unreadable. "There is something you should know," she said. Ethan leaned forward. "What?" She placed a holographic display on the table. The image flickered to life, revealing something that made Ethan's blood freeze. It was a map of human space, and on it were dozens of red markers, each one indicating a potential Vadrix infestation. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. This can't be real." Zalvera's voice was quiet. "It is. The Vadrix have already spread to human colonies." Ethan clenched his fists. "That means Earth could be next." The Queen nodded. "Which is why we must move quickly. We need allies. We need to find out why humans are immune to Vadrix control, and we need to stop them before they consume your people." Ethan exhaled slowly. His entire life, he had believed the Dravith were the enemy. But now he knew the truth. The real war hadn't even begun yet, and humanity's survival depended on what they did next. Ethan Voss stood in the war room, staring at the holographic map of human space. Red markers dotted the screen, each one a possible Vadrix infestation. His hands clenched into fists. They were already among his people. He looked up at Queen Zalvera. "How long have they been spreading?" Zalvera's golden eyes darkened. "The Vadrix do not move fast. They move smart. They plant themselves like seeds, waiting for the right moment to grow." She motioned to the map. "These points, they could have been infected years ago." Ethan felt a cold chill, and no one noticed. The Queen shook her head. "Their method is slow but effective. They do not conquer with armies. They take control from within." Ethan exhaled sharply. If the Vadrix had already infiltrated human space, then Earth itself could be at risk. And no one had any idea. "We need proof," Ethan said. "If we're going to warn humanity, we need undeniable evidence." Zalvera nodded. "I may know where to find it." A risky plan. Zalvera brought up another holographic display. A new map appeared, showing a heavily fortified station floating in deep space. "This is Outpost Zevran," she explained. "A secret Vadrix research facility, controlled by the most loyal of their forces." Ethan frowned. "Why haven't you attacked it?" The Queen's expression remained neutral. "Because we have never had a reason to. Until now." Ethan studied the map. Breaking into a heavily guarded station wasn't going to be easy. He tapped his chin. "How many guards?" Zalvera sighed. "Too many. A direct assault would be suicide." Ethan smirked. "Good thing I'm not suggesting one." Zalvera raised an eyebrow. "Then what do you have in mind?" Ethan grinned. "We sneak in." The Queen crossed her arms. "You make it sound simple." Ethan shrugged. "It's not my first time sneaking into enemy territory." Zalvera studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. But if we do this, we do it my way. My soldiers will handle security, but you will retrieve the data." Ethan gave her a confident smirk. "Deal." Infiltrating the outpost. A few hours later, Ethan stood inside a stolen Vadrix transport ship, dressed in a stolen enemy uniform. His pulse was steady, but his mind was sharp. Zalvera stood beside him, her own disguise flawless. The Dravith Queen had hidden her royal markings, blending in as an ordinary officer. The ship's comm crackled. "Outpost Zevran, this is Transport Unit Zeta 4, requesting docking clearance." A pause. Then a robotic voice replied. "Clearance granted. Proceed to docking Bay 12. Ethan exchanged a glance with Zalvera. They were in. As the ship landed inside the outpost, Ethan took a deep breath. Time to move. The heart of the enemy. The station was cold and metallic, its hallways filled with Vadrix-controlled personnel. Ethan kept his head down, walking with purpose. Confidence was key. If he acted like he belonged, no one would question him. Visalvera led the way, speaking in the Vadrix language whenever needed. Ethan wasn't sure what she was saying, but it was working. They reached a high-security vault deep within the station. A large biometric scanner blocked the entrance. Visalvera turned to him. "This is it." Ethan pulled out a small hacking device. "Give me a minute." He pressed the device against the scanner. The screen flickered. The lock beeped. Then, the doors slid open. The Visalvera gave him an impressed look. "You're full of surprises, human." Ethan smirked. "You have no idea." They stepped inside. The truth revealed. The vault was filled with holographic files, strange artifacts, and research logs. Ethan moved to one of the terminals, scrolling through the data. His eyes widened as he read the logs. Human subjects show greater resistance to Vadrix control. Attempts to assimilate them have resulted in failure. Ethan's heart pounded. Humans are immune to Vadrix control. Visalvera read over his shoulder. That explains why they have never invaded human space. Ethan continued reading. Subject Elias Work resisted assimilation completely. He was terminated before further study could be conducted. Ethan's stomach twisted. Captain Work had fought back. He had died for this secret. Then he found something worse. Plan Omega. Full-scale infiltration of Earth. Priority target. Terran leadership. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. They're already planning to invade Earth. Visalvera's expression hardened. Then we need to stop them. Suddenly, an alarm blared. ALERT. Intruders detected. Ethan cursed. We've been made. Visalvera grabbed a data chip from the console. We have what we need. Now we fight our way out. The door behind them burst open, and Vadrix-controlled soldiers stormed in. Ethan raised his weapon. Guess sneaking time is over. Visalvera's blade ignited with energy. Then let's make them regret finding us. The first wave of enemies charge. Ethan pulled the trigger. The battle had begun. The alarm screamed through Outpost Zevran, their red lights flashing like a heartbeat in panic. Ethan Voss ducked behind a metal console as energy blasts flew past him, searing the air with their heat. Visalvera, the Dravith Queen, stood tall beside him, her blade glowing with blue fire as she deflected enemy shots with precise, controlled movements. "We need to move," Ethan shouted over the noise. Visalvera nodded. "Agreed. Follow me." She dashed forward, her energy blade slicing through the nearest Vadrix-controlled soldier. Ethan followed, raising his weapon and taking down two more with quick, well-placed shots. The door ahead slammed shut, sealing them inside. Ethan cursed. "They're trying to trap us." Visalvera pressed a hand to her communicator. "Sereth, we need extraction. Now." The voice of her second-in-command crackled through. "Understood, my queen. I am bringing the ship in, but the station's defenses are online. We need time." Ethan checked his ammo. Not much left. He exhaled. "Then we buy you time." The escape plan. Visalvera's golden eyes scanned the room. The ventilation system. We can use it. Ethan followed her gaze. A metal grate sat high on the wall, just big enough for them to crawl through. "I'll boost you up," Ethan said. Visalvera raised an eyebrow but nodded. She placed her foot in his hands, and with a grunt, he lifted her toward the vent. With ease, she ripped the cover off and climbed inside. Then she reached down and pulled Ethan up after her. Just in time. The door behind them exploded inward, and more Vadrix-controlled troops swarmed the room. Ethan crawled as fast as he could, the metal shaking beneath him. "I really hope this leads somewhere." Visalvera didn't look back. "Trust me." Ethan smirked. "I'm trying." A desperate fight. The vent led them to an industrial sector of the station. Steam hissed from broken pipes, and the hum of machinery filled the air. Ethan dropped down first, weapon ready. A second later, Vadrix drones appeared from the shadows, floating, insect-like machines, their red eyes glowing with intelligence. One of them scanned Ethan. Target identified. Human. Terminate. The drones fired. Ethan dove to the side, barely avoiding the energy blasts. Zalvera landed beside him, spinning her blade and slicing through two drones in a single motion. Ethan shot the last one, and it crashed to the ground, sparks flying. "We're getting close," Zalvera said. "The hangar is just ahead." Ethan nodded. "Then let's go." The final confrontation. The hangar doors slid open, revealing the Dravith warship hovering just outside. Ethan felt a surge of hope. They were almost free. Then, something huge stepped into their path. A Vadrix warlord. It stood 7 feet tall, its black armor pulsing with alien energy. Its eyes glowed red with intelligence and pure hatred. "You will not leave." Ethan tightened his grip on his weapon. "We don't have time for this." Zalvera stepped forward, her blade humming. "I will handle him." Ethan hesitated. "Are you sure?" The Queen gave him a confident glance. "Go. Humanity needs you." Ethan clenched his jaw. Then he nodded. He sprinted toward the ship. Blaster fire rained down from above, but he zigzagged, avoiding the shots. Behind him, Zalvera clashed with the warlord. Sparks flew as their weapons met, the force of their strikes shaking the ground. Ethan reached the ramp of the ship and jumped aboard. Sereth, the pilot, turned to him. "Where is the Queen?" Ethan pointed. "She's buying us time." Sereth cursed. "We can't leave without her." Ethan gritted his teeth. "Then let's help her." He rushed to the ship's turret controls. The targeting system locked onto the warlord. Ethan fired. A massive energy blast slammed into the enemy, knocking it backward. Zalvera seized the opportunity. With a final powerful swing, she drove her blade through the warlord's chest. The creature let out a horrible screech, then collapsed. Zalvera turned and sprinted toward the ship. Ethan held out his hand. "Jump." She leaped, just as the station's structure began to collapse. Ethan grabbed her wrist and pulled her aboard. "Go," he shouted. Sereth launched the ship into space as Outpost Zevran exploded behind them, a fireball of destruction. The final decision. Inside the warship, Ethan and Zalvera sat in silence. The data chip was safe. The truth about the Vadrix was in their hands. Ethan turned to the Queen. "Now what?" Zalvera studied the stars outside the window. "Now we bring this information to your people." Ethan nodded. "If Earth is in danger, we need to warn them. But will they believe us?" Zalvera's expression softened. "They must." Ethan exhaled. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. And humanity's fate now rested on their next move.